I want you to get into this dialogue as soon as you can. Because what's really important here is not my story, but yours. It is your life story which brought you here. It is your personal experience to which this material has relevance. Otherwise, you would not be here with it right now. So everybody here in this book reading group is here for a specific purpose, for a specific intention. So let's enter the dialogue with a question I have been asking for a very long time. How does God talk and to whom? When I asked this question, here's the answer I received. I talk to everyone all the time. The question is not to whom do I talk, but who listens. Intrigued, I asked God to expand on the subject. And here's what God said. First, let's exchange the word talk with the word communicate. It's a much better word, a much fuller, more accurate one. When we try to speak to each other, me to you, you to me, we are immediately constricted by the unbelievable limitation of words. For this reason, I do not communicate by words alone. In fact, rarely do I do so. My most common form of communication is through feelings. Feeling is the language of the soul. If you want to know what's true for you about something, look to how you are feeling about it. Feelings are sometimes difficult to discover and often even more difficult to acknowledge. Yet, hidden in your deepest feelings is your highest truth. The trick is to get to those feelings. I will show you how. Again, if you wish. I told God that I did wish, but that right now I wished even more for a complete and full answer to my first question. Here's what God said. I also communicate with thought. Thoughts and feelings are not the same, although they occur at the same time. In communicating with thought, I often use images and pictures. For this reason, thoughts are more effective than mere words as tools of communication. In addition to feelings and thoughts, I also use the vehicle of experience as a grand communicator. And finally, when feelings and thoughts and experience all fails, I use words. Words are really the least effective communicator. They are most open to misinterpretation and often misunderstood. So what is God really trying to tell you? That his preferred way of communicating is with feelings. And he says, feeling is the language of the soul. Because whatever soul that is residing inside this body on this school of earth experiences only through feelings. And that feeling, whatever you get, you get a lot of times you get those goosebumps, a lot of time you get something, I'm not feeling that great. You enter a place and suddenly you feel that something is not right. Or you enter a place and suddenly you're elated and you feel excellent about yourself. You feel excellent about the surroundings. What is that? That is God's way of communication. So God's first communication happens with your soul. And that is through the feelings, not through words. Words is the last. After feelings, then he says, I start giving you thoughts. It's a very interesting thing, we'll get back to it in later details, but somehow, whenever a thought enters our mind, and an average human being has about a random 66,000 thoughts a day, and out of which 2/3 are negative. And we have total 86,400 seconds in a day. So it's like a thought nearly a second. Who's putting those thoughts? If I am thinking about something and suddenly a thought comes up, I mean, out of so many billions of options available, just question why this thought. That gives us a clue that we are not the creator of the thought. It could have been any other thought. Why only that particular thought? If I am, going walking and a car is passing by, a random thought can come to a person. I hope the car does not hit me. A random thought can come to another person. I hope the car does not hit that other person. The third person, who's probably a car admirer, might say, what a beautiful car, what an amazing car. So each and every person will have a random, unique thought of the same experience. And out of a bouquet of billions and billions of thoughts, why just that thought? That's a question mark to us to ask. Are we actually the creator of this thought? Or is it sent by God? So after the feeling is the thought which is sent by the God. And after the thoughts and the feelings, he uses another tool of communication, which is experience. And as a soul in this body, we are here to experience a lot of things in life. And जो भी हम experience करने यहाँ आए हैं, that's for a lesson. So that is again, circumstances are created for us to learn that lesson. And last, not the least, is the words. Because words have in itself an issue where they can be misunderstood or misinterpreted. I mean, if I am saying it, the same words in different tones will have different meanings. Has the word changed? No. Then how can the meaning has changed? Because the tone of the person has changed. So it's very easy to, get into that miscommunication of words. So that's why the gods, that's the fourth and the last preferred mode of communication. Yes, Ayla, you have something to ask?
Yeah, Bhaiya, so the last time I met you, we discussed the thing that you said that there are so many thoughts and all the thoughts are
Not audible.
am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so as we discussed when we met last time, that it's the mind that brings those thoughts to you. And it's not always me who's at work. The chatterbox thing that we discussed personally when I was with you.
I
So
think
now
that
this
would be
thing,
better if you discuss it personally, because people are not on that line. That's why I said it's a detailed topic we can get into later, but overall, जो thought आ रहा है random God जो आपको दे रहा है, so why he
right?
is sending that particular thought?
Got it. Then I'll discuss this with you
Yeah,
later.
because that you are on a different tandem on that.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So we talked about the 4 ways of communication from God. And why is that? It is because of what words are. Words are merely utterances, noises that stand for feeling, thoughts, and experience. They are symbols, signs, insignias. They are not truth. They are not the real thing. Words may help you understand something. Experience allows you to know, yet there are some things you cannot experience. So I have given you other tools of knowing, and these are called feelings, and so too thoughts. Now, the supreme irony here is that you have all placed so much importance on the word of God and so little on the experience. In fact, you place so little value on experience that when you experience of God, differs from what you heard of God, you automatically discard the experience and own the words, when it should be just the other way around. Your experience and your feelings about a thing represent what you factually and intuitively know about that thing. Words can only seek to symbolize what you know and can often confuse what you know. These are the tools with which I communicate. Yet they are not the methods, for not all feelings, not all thoughts, not all experiences, and not all words are from me. Many words have been uttered by others in my name. Many thoughts and many feelings have been sponsored by causes not of my direct creation. Many experiences result from these. The challenge is one of discernment. The difficulty is knowing the difference between messages from God and data from other sources. Discrimination is a simple matter with the application of a basic law. Mine is always your highest thought, your clearest word, your grandest feeling. Anything less is from another source. Now the task of differentiation becomes easy, for it should not be difficult even for the beginning student to identify the highest, the clearest, and the grandest. Yet, will I give you these guidelines? The highest thought is always that thought which contains joy. The clearest words are those which contain truth. The grandest feeling is that feeling which you call love. Joy, truth, love. These three are interchangeable and one always leads to the other. It matters not in which order they are placed. Having with these guidelines determined which messages are mine and which have come from another source, the only question remaining is whether my messages will be heeded. Most of my messages are not. Some because they seem too good to be true. Others because they seem too difficult to follow. Many because they're simply misunderstood. Most because they are not received. My most powerful messenger is experience, and even this you ignore, especially this you ignore. Your world would not be in its present condition were you to have simply listened to your experience. The result of your listening to your experience is that you keep reliving it over and over again. For my purpose will not be thwarted, nor my will be ignored. You will get the message sooner or later. I will not force you to. However, I will not coerce you. For I have given you a free will, the power to do as you choose, and I will never take that away from you ever. And so I will continue sending you the same messages over and over throughout the millennia as to whatever corner of the universe you occupy. Endlessly, I will send you my messages until you have received them and held them close, calling them your own. My messages will come in 100 forms at 1,000 moments across 1,000,000 years. You cannot miss them if you truly listen. You cannot ignore them once you truly heard. Thus, will our communication begin in earnest? For in the past, you have only talked to me, praying to me, interceding with me, beseeching me, yet now can I talk back to you, even as I'm doing here. How do I know this communication is from God? How do I know this is not my own imagination? what would be the difference? Do you not see that I could just as easily work through your imagination as anything else? I will bring you the exact right thoughts, words, or feelings at any given moment, suited precisely to the purpose at hand, using one device or several. You will know these words are from me because you, of your own accord, have never spoken so clearly. Had you already spoken so clearly on these questions, you would not be asking them. So he talks about, you know, that when the author is slightly doubtful that whether it's God, so he's very clear. If I had to work through your own imagination, I can send any thought I want. So thoughts are, coming from him. But it's interesting to read what is in the earlier question, is that in life, there are a lot of repetitions that keep happening. When he writes that I will send the message over and over again, and I will continue to do it. What does he mean by that?
Patterns that repeat in life.
Yes. So all the patterns that keep repeating in your life, they have a question mark. What does that question mark say? Now that question mark, if you're having a similar experience again and again, and you don't realize why is it that these things are coming in my space again and again, the major reason why these experiences or these messages or these things in your space are coming again and again is for you to learn a lesson. जब आपको लगता है कि मेरे साथ ये रेपिटेशन हो रहा है, एक पैटर्न बन रहा है, just slow down and ask, what is it trying to teach me? Because anything that is in your space is here to either teach you, take something from you, give you, some kind of a lesson. Something is there. So जब तक हम उसको acknowledge नहीं करेंगे, वो बार बार आएगा. That's God's way of actually trying to signal you. But हमें समझ नहीं आता. We get into that victim mentality. यार, why me, God? Why me? और जब कुछ अच्छा हो रहा होता है, वो भी रिपीट हो रहा है. तब नहीं हम बोलते why me. But जब कुछ बुरा हो रहा होता है, बार बार, then the first person to say, why me, God? Because the God is actually trying to tell you that this is a pattern. I am bringing these experiences because you need to learn a valuable lesson. और जब हम उस lesson के पास पहुंचते हैं, suddenly these things stop repeating. So if you can go back and think after the session, कि कौन सा ऐसा pattern था जो मेरे साथ बार बार होता था, तो उसके बाद से अब हुआ नहीं. So what did I learn from it? So once you get that, you'll get the clarity, yes, that pattern was there to, give you certain kind of a lesson. And once you got that lesson, that pattern stopped happening. To whom does God communicate? Are there special people? Are there special times? All people are special and all moments are golden. There is no person and there is no time and one more special than another. Many people choose to believe that God communicates in special ways and only with special people. This removes the mass of the people from responsibility for hearing my message, much less receiving it, which is another matter, and allows them to take someone else's word for everything. You don't have to listen to me, for you already decided that others have heard from me on every subject, and you have them to listen to. By listening to what other people think they heard me say, you don't have to think at all. This is the biggest reason for most people turning from my messages on a personal level. If you acknowledge that you are receiving my messages directly, then you are responsible for interpreting them. It is far safer and much easier to accept the interpretation of others, even others who have lived 2000 years ago, than seek to interpret the message you may very well be receiving in this moment now. Yet, I invite you to a new form of communication with God, a two-way communication. In truth, it is you who have invited me, for I have come to you in this form right now in answer to your call. Why do some people, take Christ for example, seem to hear more of your communication than others? Because some people are actually willing to listen. They are willing to hear, and they are willing to remain open to the communication. And even when it seems crazy or downright wrong or scary, we should listen to God even when what's being said seems wrong, especially when it seems wrong. If you think you are right about everything, who needs to talk with God? Go ahead and act on all that you know. But notice that you've been doing that since time began. And look at what shape the world is in. Clearly, you have missed something. Obviously, there is something you didn't understand. That which you do understand must seem right to you. Because right is a term you use to designate something with which you agree. What you missed will therefore appear at first to be wrong. The only way to move forward on this is to ask yourself, what would happen if everything I thought was wrong was actually right? Every great scientist knows about this. When what a scientist does is not working, a scientist sets aside all of the assumptions and starts over. All great discoveries have been made from a willingness and ability to not be right, and that's what's needed here. You cannot know God until you stop telling yourself that you already know God. You cannot hear God until you stop thinking that you've already heard God. I cannot tell you my truth until you stop telling me yours. It's very important as a human being on this school of earth to realize and acknowledge this fact that, we do not have the answers for everything and we do not know everything. The time we are in acknowledgement with this line that, yes, there is a lot for me to discover. I mean, I am talking about not just your spiritual life, in terms of your work, in terms of when you're behaving or when you're interacting with your children, when you're, working with your colleagues, when you're working with anybody, you're just speaking, always be open. It's very important to be open and receiving, not just for any kind of a new knowledge or information, but anything that has to come your way depends on your receiving. In life, if my receptivity is open, so that means I am open to receive all. That includes love, that includes God's knowledge, that includes God's wisdom, that includes money, that includes everything possible under this umbrella of universe. Because ultimately it's all there. It is my receiving receiving, I'll try to explain it in a better manner. Receiving is your main door of your house. So if you have locked your main door of your house, then how can things come in? कोई दरवाजा तोड़ के तो चोर ही आएगा ना. अगर कोई बंदा आपको पैसे देने आ रहा है, वो देखेगा आपका दरवाजा बंद है, वो वापस जाएगा. He probably knock like God knocks, gives you signals through experiences, through thoughts, through feelings. But if you don't decode them and you do not open your door, you will not get that money and you will not get that information. So everything in life goes around your state of receptivity. How open are you to receive? So if you're open to receive information, if you're open to receive knowledge, that gives a clue to the universe that this guy is open and receptive. So मैं उसी को दूंगा who's open and receptive. And this includes all spokes of life. Be it love, be it money, be it knowledge, be it wisdom, be it any God time under this umbrella of universe. So everything depends on your receptivity. How open are you to receive? So अगर आपने वो अपने आप को, if you want yourself to be that open and that receptive, you need to keep your main door open. तभी वो चीज अंदर आ सकती है. And that's how you work. When you have this thing that I know everything, you close the door. No more information required. I know everything. But if you go with a curiosity mind, with a humble mind, that yes, I am open to receiving more knowledge. Like I would say this group here in, 11, 12 people, a soul group which has been made, who is more willing to receive more information for the book. Because the book is available. Anybody can go and read it. But interest nahi banta, continuity nahi banti, beech mein reh jati hai. So that means there is something which you thought ki nahi hai, there is something more to it. But I am open to receive more. That is why we are here together. So in life, everything revolves around your openness and your receptivity. So always keep your door open. Not literally, raat ko chor aa jayenge, in a metaphorical sense. General life, keep your receptivity open for everything in life. But my truth about God comes from you. Who said so? Others? What others? Leaders, ministers, rabbis, priests, books, the Bible, for heaven's sake. They are not authoritative sources. They aren't? No. Then what is? Listen to your feelings. Listen to your highest thoughts. Listen to your experience. Whenever any of these differ from what you've been told by your teachers or read in your books, forget the words. Words are the last reliable purveyor of truth. There is so much I want to say to you, so much I want to ask. I don't know where to begin. For instance, why is it that you do not reveal yourself? If there really is a God and you are it, why do you not reveal yourself in a way we can all understand? I have done so over and over, and I am doing so again right now. No, I mean by a method of revelation that is incontrovertible, that cannot be denied, such as appearing right now before my eyes. I am doing so right now. Where? Everywhere you look. No, I mean in an incontrovertible way, in a way no man could deny. What way would that be? In what form or shape would you have me appear? In the form or shape that you actually have. That would be impossible, for I have no form or shape, you understand. I could adopt a form or shape that you could understand, but then everyone would assume that what they have seen is the one and only form and shape of God, rather than a form or shape of God, one of many. People believe I am what they see me as, rather than what they do not see. But I am the great unseen, not what I cause myself to be in any particular moment. In a sense, I am what I am not. It is from the am notness that I come, and to it I always return. Yet, when I come in one particular form or another, a form in which I think people can understand me, people assign me that form forevermore. And should I come in any other form to any other people, the first say I did not appear to the second because I did not look to the second as I did to the first, nor say the same things. So how could it have been me? You see, then it matters not in what form or in what manner I reveal myself. Whatever manner I choose and whatever form I take, none would be incontrovertible. So, it's a very old saying that one of the biggest beliefs, belief is something which is, we believe in it, but we've not seen it. So one of the biggest beliefs prevalent on planet Earth is that there is God. But somehow I'm also a firm believer that there is God, or there is a force, or there is some energy which is driving everything. It cannot just run on its own. But yeah, if you come and think from a logical mind, has anybody ever seen God? No. But has anybody ever experienced God? Yes. People have experienced God. I mean, how is it possible that a person who is, in a car, that car meets an accident and the person accidentally just jumps, and is pulled out from the car? So, I mean, the internet, YouTube is filled with all these experiences. So God is present everywhere. It's like air. Can you see air? Can you see the oxygen you breathe? No. But do you think you can survive without oxygen? No, you need that. Can the trees see the carbon dioxide that is coming out? No. Can you see the carbon dioxide that is coming out of your, nose, mouth, wherever you're breathing out from? No. But do you think it does not exist? No, it does. That's how it works. That is why when the God says that I am what I am not, in order to decode this further, I am what I am not. So I am everything. God is everything. He is in every form, formless possible on planet Earth and beyond. पुराने ज़माने में we used to refer to him as God. A lot of people, new millennia, they do not like the word God sometimes. So they call it energy, they call it universe, they call it collective consciousness. I mean, there's so many different words. But yes, there is something that is driving, and that is present everywhere. It can take any form because it is the formless. I am what I am not. I am in everything. But if you did something that would evidence the truth of who you are beyond doubt or question, there are still those who would say it is of the devil or simply someone's imagination. or any cause other than me. If I revealed myself as God Almighty, King of heaven and earth, and moved mountains to prove it, there are those who would say it must have been Satan. And such is as it should be. For God does not reveal God's self to God's self from or through outward observation, but through inward experience. And when inward experience has revealed God's self, outward observation is not necessary. And if outward observation is necessary, inward experience is not possible. If then revelation is requested, it cannot be had, for the act of asking is a statement that it is not there, that nothing of God is now being revealed. Such a statement produces the experience, for your thought about something is creative and your word is productive, and your thought and your word together are magnificently effective in giving birth to your reality. Therefore, shall you experience that God is not now revealed? For if God were, you would not ask God to be. Does that mean I cannot ask for anything I want? Are you saying that praying for something actually pushes it away from us? This is a question which has been asked through the ages and has been answered whenever it has been asked. Yet you have not heard the answer or will not believe it. The question is answered again in today's terms and today's language, thusly, you will not have for which you ask, nor you can have anything you want. This is because your very request is a statement of lack. And you're saying you want a thing only works to produce that precise experience, wanting in your reality. The correct prayer is therefore never a prayer of supplication, but a prayer of gratitude. When you thank God in advance for which you choose to experience in your reality, you in effect acknowledge that it is there in effect. Thankfulness is thus the most powerful statement to God, an affirmation that even before you ask, I have answered. So therefore, never supplicate, appreciate. So why is it that, whenever we talk about these things and, generally we observe a conversation with God Almighty is always coming from a premise of want. So he's saying, the premise is only from a place of lack. I want this. What do you mean by I want this? मेरे पास नहीं है, तभी मुझे चाहिए. So can you see where the lack is coming from? Because you are comparing yourself with something, and then there is a feeling of lack which says, I don't have this, I want this. So that is why God is referring to this premise of, coming from a point of, from a purview of lack. And where he says, I remember there was a very powerful line which used to be said, what is a temple? Is the rich are begging inside, whereas the beggars are waiting outside. So everything is about wanting from God. Why? वो तो सब दे देगा, अपनी receiving on करो. Why is it that we need to restrict कि I want this only? He wants to give you everything. Honestly speaking, God will never say no to you. But you're receiving, and now how do we increase, or how do we get into that state where we work on our receiving and we work on the concept where we improve our receiving, we improve the openness and the receptivity. And the key word is gratitude. You know, when he says, therefore, the correct prayer is therefore never a prayer of supplication. So what do you mean by supplication? Supplication is an alternative word of begging. So he clearly says the correct prayer is therefore never a prayer of supplication, never a prayer of begging in front of God, but a prayer of gratitude. I mean, there are so many things that we can be thankful for. And yes, if you guys are, you should do in order to enhance the gratitude. There is this book, Magic by Rhonda Byrne. That was the first book we did in this book reading club. It's available on YouTube. I'll post the link if you can, whenever possible. That book is a must if you want to know what is gratitude. I mean, in a lot of people come to me and I tell them therapeutically for healing, just do this book. Half your problems will be solved. So we should, when we are interacting with God, we need to come from a premise of abundance, from a premise of gratitude, not from a premise of begging, not from a premise of supplication. बिल्कुल भी नहीं. जब हम बोलते हैं I want, it is coming, मेरे पास है नहीं पर मुझे चाहिए. So there is that lack inside. So that is not the right, I would not like to use the right way, but that is not the most appropriate way, because generally you'll get to know in this book, there is nothing known as right or wrong. It's only desirable, undesirable. जो आपके साथ resonate हो गया, that's right for you. जो आपके साथ resonate नहीं हुआ, that's wrong for you, or that is, the undesirable. But what if I am grateful to God in advance for something and it never shows up? That could lead to disillusionment and bitterness. Gratitude cannot be used as a tool with which to manipulate God, a device which to fool the universe. You cannot lie to yourself. Your mind knows the truth of your thoughts. If you're saying thank you, God, for such and such, all the while being very clear that it isn't there in your present reality, you cannot expect God to be less clear than you and so produce it for you. God knows what you know, and what you know is what appears as your reality. But how then can I be truly grateful for something I know is not there? Faith. If you have but the faith of a mustard seed, you shall move mountains. You come to know it is there because I said it is there. Because I said that. Even before you ask, I shall have answered, because I said, and have said to you in every conceivable way, through every teacher you can name, that whatsoever you shall choose, choosing it in my name, so shall it be. Yet so many people say that the prayers have gone unanswered. No prayer, and a prayer is nothing more than a fervent statement of what is so goes unanswered. Every prayer, every thought, every statement, every feeling is created. To the degree that it is fervently held as truth, to the degree will it be made manifest in your experience. When it is said that the prayer has not been answered, what has in actuality happened is that the most fervently held thought, word, or feeling has become operative. Yet, what you must know, and here is the secret, is that it is the thought behind the thought, which might be called the sponsoring thought, that is the controlling thought. If therefore you beg and supplicate, there seems a much smaller chance that you will experience what you think you are choosing, because the sponsoring thought behind every supplication is that you do not have now what you wish, and that sponsoring thought becomes your reality. The only sponsoring thought which could override this thought is the thought held in faith that God will grant whatever is asked without fail. Some people have such faith, but very few. The process of prayer becomes much easier when, rather than having to believe that God will always say yes to every request, one understands intuitively that the request itself is not necessary. Then the prayer is a prayer of thanksgiving. It is not a request at all, but a statement of gratitude for what is so. So in the end, it's all about your faith in that power, in that Almighty, or whatever name you want to call it. It is your faith in whatever is going to happen. Because अगर हम जाके वहां भीख मांगेंगे तो कुछ नहीं मिलने वाला. अगर मिल भी गया तो then it's a sheer luck. At the end of the day, अगर वो मिल भी गया, it's sheer luck. तो हमें concentrate करना है gratitude पे कि whatever you want to bring, whatever is that is required, you will bring, and I am accepting it. If not accepting it, at least I acknowledge it. Because at the end of the day, whatever happens is all His will. Our acceptance to it always makes us, be in a place of non-receptivity or non-agreement.